Hey guys, welcome to Fed by Fire. My name's Christian Whitlow, and tonight I want to talk about a system I spent most of my child life all trapped inside of, and somehow that same system ended up saving me. So I'm talking about probation. 11 years of it, 11 years of trying to cheat it, run from it, hide under it, and survive through it, and finally learning how to grow inside of it. And I'm not here to preach. I'm not here to act like I had everything figured out, because I didn't. I barely had myself. But if you're somebody out there who's still living the way I used to, still waking up sick, still trying to outsmart drug tests, still believing you can negotiate with addiction, then I want you to hear me and to hear this video, because I lived that life longer than I lived anything else in my life, and it almost buried me. So let's talk about Section 1, living high on probation. All right. In the beginning, I treated probation like a background noise, like something to outrun, not something to respect or take seriously. I'd show up high, and not maybe he's high, I mean high. Pupils blasting, face numb, heart racing, nodding off. And instead of owning it, I'd walk in with some childish attempt to hide it. Special mouthwash, detox drinks, fake pee, the whole 9 yards. I did every desperate trick that the streets whisper about. I drank vinegar, swallowed shots of bleach, just a catful, because someone's cousin swore it cleaned you out. All it did was make my stomach feel like it was filled with fucking barbed wire. So I tried detox drinks that tasted like battery acid. That's the addict logic and mentality. We'll put anything in our bodies except the truth. All right, let's talk about my job interview experience with a drug test. One time I was trying to get a job. I knew they drug tested, so I taped a little bag of clean piss to my leg like I was pulling a heist. And, I get in the bathroom, hands shaking, trying to make the swap. The bag slips and explodes on the floor. So I'm standing there, khakis and dress shoes, covered in piss that's not even mine. Listening to the interviewer knock at the door like, "Is everything okay in there?" Yeah, to make matters worse, it was my first job, and in the kitchen of the hospital my dad worked at. So that's the moment you realize you're not beating nothing or anybody. You're beat. But we will call that young and dumb, because that's what it was. And I'm sorry about that. Now let's talk about the Wizinator. And then there was the Wizinator story. Alright, let's get into this. Some of y'all find this hilarious. I walked out of my probation office after just using the Wizinator, and the damn thing fell out of my pants in the hallway. She didn't even piss me that day. So, but luckily I didn't get it, and I didn't get charged or caught with it. So, but still, like, why would you? But that was rock bottom disguised as comedy. Alright. One time I had a PO that was my stepdad's sister-in-law. The only drug test I ever passed back then was one where I used clean pee in a 5-hour energy bottle, and thank God she didn't test me that much. She probably knew. The officers always know. That look she gave me, it wasn't anger. It was just kind of like disappointment. At that time, that might have hurt a little worse, but she let me off. She was tired of dealing with me. Now let's talk about PB-15s, KPSs, and the real consequences. All right. When you're living wrong and every piece of your life becomes paperwork, a PB-15, That's a probation violation form. It means you messed up and you're going to go back in front of the court. Now let's talk about a capias. That's a warrant where they're coming to get you. And I've had a bunch of these capias to impose jail time. That means the judge has run out of patience, no more chances, and you're going to do your original time. I racked up a couple PB-15s, every missed meeting, every dirty screen, every new charge, stack, they all stack on top of each other. And I kept telling myself, it's not that bad. It's not that serious. I can talk my way out. But it always caught up with me. But that's the addict's anthem. Always after this one. And let's talk about my deferred disposition on VASAP and blowing every chance I had. Alright, I was on a deferred disposition for a distribution charge, meaning the court said if you do everything right, we won't convict you. And what did I do? I brought back new charges. And I got into VASAP, the DUI program we have in Virginia, and I failed that too. I missed the classes. I couldn't show up on time to save my life or take care of my community service. And when you're using, you're not capable of stability. You think you are, but you're not. You're chasing highs and dodging consequences and not living, and that's just part of it. But let's talk about the collapse. Then everything came crashing down at once. I had violated probation so many times that I even started losing count. I had new charges. I had 3 grand larcenies on top of the distribution. I had messed up all my programs, court orders, everything. I was just a mess. And the judge, he looked at me, really looked at me, and he said, Mr. Whitlow, I am ready to send you to the Virginia Department of Corrections for 5 to 7 years. And, he wasn't bluffing. He wasn't playing. I thought I was done. I thought my goose was cooked. So I got locked up again on the new charges, sitting there in a cell, thinking this time I might not get another shot. But eventually I got a bond. Then my wife, who'd watch me burn every chance I ever touched, she bonded me out. That's real love. The addicts don't feel like they deserve. Sometimes we don't know how to receive it either. And she got me away from the old crew. She got me away from the old environment. The people who would hand me a shovel every time I was trying to dig myself out. And that space is where I started climbing out. So, while incarcerated, I switched from methadone to Suboxone. That alone took my brain out of survival mode where I could think a little bit. And then when I got out on bond, I switched from Suboxone to Brixadi, the monthly injection, and that changed everything for me. No waking up sick, no counting strips, no panic, no cravings, controlling the calendar. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't chasing a dose. I could think, I could plan, I could actually have a life. And my original game plan was to ask the court to send me to CCAP, a 11-month program that's a work program where they have turkey farms and chicken farms. It's hard labor, but it's structured, and you come home with a big paycheck. And that's where I thought I belonged, or where my future is headed. But instead, I walked into the courtroom with something I never had before, and that was stability, a home, a wife standing by me, a child who needed me, and clean time. Proof I wasn't running around anymore. I had documentation for all that. And the judge, he gave me one last chance. One. one last shot to get this right. All right, and let's talk about understanding the system, pretrial versus probation versus parole, and what all the different things are. Let me break this down for you. Anybody lost in terminology? Pretrial, that is, you haven't been convicted yet. You're proven you can act right while the court decides your fate. In probation, you're convicted. This is your sentence. Freedom with conditions, and parole. You did the time, you're out early. The state still owns part of your sentence. And the same road, just different lanes, they all require honesty. And now let's talk about how to actually work with your PO, because you can be successful. Here's the truth addicts don't really want to hear. Your PO doesn't benefit from your failure. They know every trick in the book. They've supervised thousands of us. You can hustle them for a while, but eventually they catch you. They just always do. Honesty doesn't make you weak, it makes you accountable. So remember that. And they can't help what you hide. So today, me and my PO, we have a solid relationship, respect both ways, because I finally showed up as a grown man and not a scared little boy addict. She even came by with a turkey for Thanksgiving. And if you're not ready, do not take probation. It's a trap, because probation is not freedom. Probation is structure. And if you're not ready for that, you should just stay there. If you're still using, still running, still deep in the chaos, don't take the probation thinking you can cheat it. Just serve the time, get over with, because I'm serious, get on with your life. It took me years to understand that. Probation wasn't supposed to save me, it was supposed to expose me to myself. And I've almost been sober a year now. I've got a job, I've got my wife, my kid, my home, my mind back, this podcast, my book. Probation didn't fix me, but it held me up to the mirror until I finally stopped running. To every addict watching this, I'm not better than you. I'm you, just further down the road a little bit, and had an extraordinary opportunity to fix my life. You can beat the system all day. You can't beat yourself. This is Fed by Fire. Thank you for letting me speak my truth. I appreciate you guys watching. Be good or be good at it. Thank you.